Welcome to Darren Evans Paranormal Radio, where you can tune into some of the best in paranormal programming. So if I were you, I'd grab a beer, take a load off your feet, and be ready for some kick-ass talk radio right here, right about now. I'm your host, Darren Evans, and there's no telling what you're going to hear about today. Paranormal news, creepy stories, research topics, UFOs, Bigfoot, aliens, paranormal events, what's new on Paranormal TV, the Zozo phenomenon, ghost adventures, and much more. Only right here in the Nevada Triangle. This is Darren Evans Paranormal Radio. We are live in Las Vegas in the Nevada Triangle. I'm Darren Evans, and this is Darren Evans Paranormal Radio. Tonight I'm joined by the lovely Danae McDow. Danae, how are you?
Can't believe you brought me into this. I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, you know what? I don't know how much better I could be, honey. Starting a new radio show. We are announcing tonight the new podcast, the Darren Evans Paranormal Radio. It's going to be pretty exciting. We've got all kinds of things to talk about. Thank you for joining us, listeners. Some of you may know me from the show Ghost Adventures, where we've gone to haunted locations and very interesting things have happened, such as last Halloween on the Halloween Live episode. I was joined by paranormal investigator Joshua P. Warren. He had his Tesla machine in the Jacob's Ladder. And we were in the seance room at Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum. And I believe that there was quite the commotion. It ended quickly, very abruptly, and we were shuffled out of the museum. But what an incredible experience that was, seeing all the fans of Ghost Adventures lined up outside. Zach Bagans comes pulling up in the David Koresh Camaro. I mean, it was just crazy. And it's just meeting Josh was pretty crazy. Now, Danae, you met him as well at the Millennium Fandom. You know, Joshua started the whole creepy Vegas thing, and we were at a couple of shows. You know, and we were partying with the legend, the man himself.
Indiana Jones of paranormal, as I've come to affectionately call him.
You know, and that really stuck because I told Josh that he was. He reminded me of the Indiana Jones, and I got a big sheepish grin from Mr. Warren. But what a great guy he is, and what a background!
Hat. It's the hat.
He dons the jacket well. It's incredible how many shows and networks and films and books and everything that this man has done in the last 40 years of his career. Just a great guy, and having met him, and you met his wife,
mm-hmm.
and you guys hung out, and you guys got along really well, and so
yeah, I adore Lauren.
You're making me look good in these bars, huh?
Well, Lauren's just a fantastic person. She always makes me feel super welcome when not a whole lot of people come and talk to me, because they mostly gather around you and Josh because you guys are the big wigs of the tour or the show that night. So it's nice to have a friend that I can talk to.
That may be the first time you've ever called me a bigwig, honey.
Well,
I like that. But what was crazy is I remember, you were sitting over there with a couple of females, with Josh's wife,
mm-hmm.
and I'm, amongst a group of people that were there for the Creepy Vegas show, and we get to talking, and everybody's having a couple of beers, and I look over at Josh, and I'm like, what do you think about this whole summoning UFO thing? Do you think it would be possible to summon one using a Ouija board? And then he kind of did a double take, and he looked at me like I was crazy, and but he raised an eyebrow. When Joshua P. Warren raises an eyebrow, you better look out. The man is just on a mission with his time machines, his wish machines, everything that he's got going. Well, folks, you may have heard that on July 14th of 2019, Joshua and I have teamed up for Cosmic Invocation, a UFO summoning event. And we will get more into Cosmic Invocation and what we're going to be doing there later on in today's broadcast. But, I want to kind of get into some paranormal news. And, I mentioned Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum and being in there and how creepy that was. Well, recently, he had to shut down, the museum on opening night of his rocking chair, the Devil Made Me Do It rocking chair, tied to Lorraine Warren and Ed Warren's case. And how crazy is that? They got stuff on film. A lot of the tour guides, it was reported, were crying uncontrollably, just full of emotion. And, I can only imagine the emotions that people go through. I mean, you and I, now I've been in the seance room, but you and I have talked about going for the full tour, which we haven't done yet. I really want to get you in that place.
I'm a little nervous to go in that place because, I'm empathic, I'm sensitive to emotion, and I'm both curious and a little nervous about how the energy is going to feel around that place. And you can feel it when you get close to it. And I've never been in the museum. The closest I ever got was to the gift shop. But still, it has this vibe, this heartbeat, if you will, this building does. So I'm quite curious how everything on the inside feels. All of these haunted objects and artifacts all thrown together into this giant haunted museum. It's some of the stuff that he's got in there is incredible. The Charles Manson remnants, painted in blood, his false teeth. Now that would be an unpleasant sight, Charles Manson's teeth. Why?
I can see why people are collapsing. And again, folks, this was reported how recently he had to temporarily shut down on grand opening night of the Devil Made Me Do It rocking chair exhibit. All kinds of crazy stuff happens in that. It's kind of getting weird, But I do want to go through the haunted tour. If any of you that know me know that Danae and I have moved to Las Vegas. That's where Zach Bagans lives, and that do a lot of the Ghost Adventures things here. The creepy Vegas. That whole thing is doing well, and I encourage anybody that's coming to Las Vegas. There's a lot of paranormal stuff out here, and so, but something I saw today. Paramount Pictures is doing a new Paranormal Activity horror film. Now imagine that.
Oh God, they need to stop.
Is this the 17th one or the 7th one?
I've honestly lost track.
I believe it's the 7th one of this franchise that has grossed $900 million. The last one, I think it was called Ghost Dimension. I think what cost like $2 to make the film, and it made like $190 million. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's our generation's version of the Blair Witch Project.
I kind of lost.
I've never seen them personally. I can't get into it. It doesn't spark my fancy.
Me neither. I think I'm going to miss this one. Taking nothing away from the Paranormal Activity friend. I know the guy that supplied the planchet for Paranormal Activity 2, I think. He's a neat character. And so, reading also today that the government had a classified briefing with Senate Majority Leaders in regards to military and pilot UFO sightings. And so, getting back to these UFOs, what do you think about this disclosure? I mean, are you on the disclosure bandwagon?
I'm sorry, I can't even. With our government, the not so secret talk with Congress. It's like the secret but not so secret NSA building in Eagle Mountain, Utah. Everyone knows about it. It's not that big of a secret. But
well, there's something going on.
Well, there's definitely something going on. I mean, you have government officials releasing all these documents and videos of fighter pilots encountering strange lights and anomalies during aircraft patrols. There's obviously something going on. I find it rather comical that they're listing this as a classified meeting about UFOs. When
aren't classified meetings supposed to be classified?
Exactly. No one's supposed to know about them.
Yeah, I don't know. They're going back and forth with the whole alien versus the unidentified aerial maneuver type lights, there's a difference, but it's a lot of eyebrows are being raised in UFO circles and UFO communities right now because of these recent developments, and so that's one reason why we are going to recreate an experiment that was done August 17th of 1952 in the desert. An early UFOologist, George Hunt Williamson, used Ouija boards to contact alien entities that said that they were not from the planet Earth. These were the early vintage days of UFOlogy. And this guy, he did well at Arizona State. He studied a lot of North American tribal, indigenous practices involving the spirit realm, and how in many of their ancient cultures they talk about visits from men from outer space, and so he definitely applied a different perspective out of the gate as a pioneer, early pioneer of UFOlogy. And it's the early contactees, the four Georges. They used Ouija boards and automatic writing, even a weird Morse code, to communicate with these entities, that said that they were aliens, and they said that they saw sightings of aircraft. The whole George Adamski thing, his sightings. It started out very controversial, and
I think it still is controversial.
Aside from the Gulf Breeze 6 incident, happened in the 90s when military officials stationed in Germany with mind control training, high-level government military officials, went AWOL. 6 military personnel went AWOL, traveled from Germany, somehow got over to the United States, and it was some of this stuff was, a lot of this case is still classified, but they were using Ouija boards to contact entities that were predicting earthquakes in Iraq, and some of that shit came true. And so you've got the 1952 and the whole early contactees that were using Ouija boards to contact alien intelligences, and then in the 90s, the Gulf Breeze 6 incident, you used Ouija boards. They were pulled over because of a light out, and they were imprisoned, and they were taken back to Germany. But I believe it's the only time in the history of the military where someone goes AWOL and was given honorable discharges. Now, there was some freaky shit that happened.
Not happen.
Normally, no. This is not a normal case. The Gulf Breeze 6 case is one of the most unusual Ouija cases that I've ever come across. And so, it was just kind of my idea. I don't me, I don't get on Ouija boards very often. I don't like to. Nothing really good has ever came from it. And having some pretty bad experiences that I describe in the book, The Zozo Phenomenon, that's been documented.
Recently trip to the hospital.
Went to the hospital days after the last Ghost Adventures episode, when we were hurried out of there and didn't get a chance to close the portal. Now, that wasn't a very good example to set on television, and so I'm not too proud of that, not closing that session. But hey, we escaped from it with our lives, barely. I was in the hospital for 6 days, 7 days?
10.
Oh, wow! I must have been pretty bad off. But no, I was really, really, really bad sick. But anyway, this deal's kind of different. We are not going to be summoning Zozo, but what I do find interesting is this, this George Hunt Williamson that used Ouija boards to contact aliens. There was a couple of different entities. I think there was one was called Afa, which was also contacted in other circles. That entity would come through, as well as another one starts with a P. But the one that I find interesting that he contacted was a character that called itself Zoe. And so, to me, that is pretty interesting how, before the acknowledgement of the Zozo phenomenon coming, kind of into existence, but it kind of, it was under the radar for a long time. And I found a lot of historical evidence that indicates that it's been around for thousands of years, well before the invention of the modern Ouija board in 1891. And so, it's just crazy that I'm going to do this. But I mean, I'm not wanting to, contact Zozo, but I want to see if this Zoe will come back through, and maybe it's different. Maybe, I'm using a different intent. I'm going to be focusing on the skies, and I'm going to be, talking to them and coming to them with peace and love, going into this session. And it would definitely be closed this time. And we are going to see what happens. Now, joining us is paranormal author and cryptozoologist David Weatherly is also going to be at the event. And now he's living here in Vegas. I think he's from this area. Now, he's written a lot of books. He's been on a lot of television shows. The guy has written everything from haunted toys to Bigfoot, other legendary creatures. Even studies those in this area. And honey, I didn't realize how close we are to Area 51 here.
How could you not realize that? Area 51 is Nevada's Roswell.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm not known for my UFO knowledge, obviously. And so, but you know what? It's going to be very interesting to use some of these protocols, such as those devised by the Dr. Stephen Greer, who is a UFO researcher that claims he has a system of using sound waves, using high-powered lights to summon UFOs. Now, we've done some research, and Josh has already done some of this. Also joining us is the UFO magnet Joey George from Tulsa, a good friend of mine that's been investigating UFOs for a very long time. He seems to have a weird connection to these UFOs that have been flying around Tulsa. I seen my first UFO with Joey in Fort Smith, Arkansas, at the Old Fort Paranormal Convention. And I'll never forget that. And that was the very first time that I seen something with my own eyes. And I was with Joey. We got that on film. It's on the little teaser trailer for Cosmic Invocation. And anybody that is interested in Cosmic Invocation, where again, Joshua P. Warren, myself, the UFO magnet Joey George, and David Weatherly will all be at this event. And again, we'll be using different methodologies to attempt to summon unknown alien intelligences. And so, yes, it's going to be cool. We're going to meet at a casino. Now, there's only 12 tickets to this, as I understand it. They're going to be available. Very limited access to this event. And so we've got some surprises in store. We've got news coverage coming out on the event. And so we're pretty excited about Cosmic Invocation. And if you're interested, which you should be, go to CosmicInvocation.com and check us out. Get some information. And, it's going to be super cool. What do you think?
I think it's going to be interesting, to say the least.
What if something shows up? I hope something does that's friendly. I don't want to be beamed up into some death ray or something. But
if something shows up, can I play the outer?
Speaking of death rays, I promised a couple listeners that I'd talk about some of these new shows, or some of the paranormal shows that are currently on the Travel Channel. And let me start out by going ahead and announcing that A Haunting has moved to the Travel Channel. and I was involved in the filming of episode 8, season 10, which is debuting on the Travel Channel. The day after Cosmic Invocation on July 14th, on July 15th, on the series A Haunting, it'll be about Norman the Haunted Doll. Now, what an interesting little fellow he is. This will be airing July 15th, 16th, 22nd, and 27th on the Travel Channel on the show A Haunting. Now, this is going to be probably one of the creepiest hauntings there. Now, people that don't like haunted dolls, you're not going to like Norman. Okay? And we filmed an investigation in a motel room with this thing. And some of the interaction was some of the most amazing that I've ever seen. And I've been on quite a few investigations, but this Norman, and and somebody sent me a replicate. It's the same doll, but it's not haunted. It don't have its head all bashed in and doesn't have its skin all burnt with fire and all that stuff. And so I've got the non-haunted version. But Stephen Lancaster, wow, he's a Llewellyn author. This guy's written some crazy books. Now, on this Norman, he's actually got a book called Norman the Haunted Doll. And I wrote the epilogue to it. And so that was pretty cool. Stephen and I go way back. And so it was cool to meet Stephen Lancaster, on a film set at New Dominion Pictures. That was crazy. That place, they call it the Hollywood of the East Coast. They had some of the most amazing theatrical setups that I've ever seen. My scene was filmed in what looks like an attic and an antique shop that's all built into this facility. And so what a crazy experience that was, coming back from that on Delta Airlines just before the plane takes off. On the tarmac. It's that nervous, I get anxiety every time I get on a damn plane. We're getting ready to take off, and the whole electrical system goes black. Everything goes dark. People are gasping. Can't believe what's going on. Moments before acceleration, the electricity goes out. And I had just seen Norman the day before. They got me in and out of there real quick. I don't ever want to fly Delta again, because here's what happened. They pulled us back to the runway. And it took them about 2 or 3 hours to make repairs. And you know what? It was getting stifling in there. People couldn't, it was getting increasingly harder to breathe, because even the auxiliaries and backups failed. Now, what would have happened? Get back to the story here. They said they fixed it. We're on the same plane. We're delayed. We go back out to the tarmac, and the same thing happened, and smoke starts pouring out of the back of the plane. And I'm like, what? I mean, WTF, okay? That was a harrowing experience. I never want to go through that again. I don't like flying anyway. Coming back from WouijaCon in 2015 from Baltimore, while we were there, it was while the Baltimore riots were going on. And then I got caught in a lot of turbulence on the way back from that flight, and caught in a holding pattern over Dallas, Texas, in tornadic activity. Paranormal activity, tornadic activity.
You do not get along with aircraft.
No, I don't. Especially when you've just investigated something that looks like Norman. Folks, A Haunting. I get interviewed. I think it's supposed to show some of the investigation we did the night before, but I'll never forget meeting Stephen Lancaster and having that investigation. That's really cool. Folks, I've been pretty blessed in this whole paranormal thing. I don't know why or how, but I've met some incredible folks, and here on Darren Evans Paranormal Radio, we've got some pretty cool interviews coming up that I'm not going to say nothing about it right now. But we do have some interesting people that we're going to talk to here on the show. And we're going to, and thanks for listening to us tonight. We're going to do like this 30-minute podcast thing. Me and Danae coming at you live in Las Vegas in the Nevada Triangle here. Darren Evans Paranormal Radio. I just, this Cosmic Invocation. You got The Haunting. We got, In August, I got to fly to Tulsa to do a secret interview with Fox 23 News. We got that to talk about coming up. Just lots of things going on. We're finding lots of scorpions here in Nevada.
As long as they're not spiders, we're cool.
You know, I haven't seen one spider since I've lived here with you in Nevada. Are there no spiders here?
I hope they left the state. I really do. I hate...
You love spiders,
I hate
honey.
arachnids with a fiery passion.
Well, you know, I don't like scorpions, to be honest with you. You know,
And yet, I'm a Scorpio.
you are
The
a Scorpio.
irony.
You are a Scorpio. Mwah. Okay, well, thanks for joining us on our first episode tonight, June 20th. We're signing off. Darren Evans, Paranormal Radio. Thanks for joining us. Next week, we got the UFO magnet Joey George. He's coming in the studio live, talk about cosmic invocation, UFOlogy, and I know he's going to want to talk about disclosure. Well, Joey can play a mean guitar. Can't wait to talk to him again. It's going to be a good show. Join us next week.